Hey there, Kirk McDowell with contributionselling.com. Today's question that I'm going to answer is how to train sales staff. How to train sales staff. Let's see. So first thing is let's look at performance. So one way you could look at a sales team, so sales staff, you could look at a sales staff is that it is a team of human beings, team of people, right? Trying to perform, right? With a commitment, with a promise, with an expectation of performance. So selling new products and services to existing customers, locating and bringing in new customers for services and products, et cetera, right? So how to train sales staff, first thing you have to understand is what a salesperson actually is. In this case, let's break it up. I'm going to have a little fun with these sales trainings, these little videos, because they're all going to be about 10 to 12 minutes, and I'm answering questions that are actually being asked on YouTube. And I'm going to riff around with different kinds of answers, all relevant and to the point, but trying to bring some variety to it. So one way you could look at this question is the question between leadership and management, right? Because management is the art and science of having things exist work really well, right? So you want a manager to take care of existing customers, right? You want a manager to create and nurture processes and standardization of activities and so forth. What a leader does is have something exist that doesn't currently exist. These are not the only definitions. You could distinguish manager and leader many different ways. This is just the way I'm doing it today related to this question, which is how to train sales staff. So one thing to understand is that a salesperson's fundamental accountability is to have something exist in the world that doesn't already exist. A sales quota, a new customer, a new territory, etc. So in that case, what you really want to look at is performance, right? What are the things that go into having people perform? I'm going to suggest today a very simple modality for that, right? It's 3 steps. Mindset, right? What's going on in the person's mind? So often the key differentiator between performance and not performance is just the mindset of the individual. So first and foremost is mindset. Secondly is correct strategy and tactics. So if you have a great mindset, but you have no idea what to do, that's less helpful, okay? And the third thing is lots of action, abundance of action, right? Massive action. So if you have a great mindset as a salesperson, you can't wait to contribute, you're ready to engage with people, you've set aside your ego and your personal agenda and all the stuff that makes you difficult to get along with. You've set all that aside in service of a greater purpose, which is to be a contribution in the world and learn how to be the best in the world at what you do. Typically, I work with coaches and business consultants and people who make a living with their expertise. So my emphasis is always on having people be the very best at what they do, right? It makes selling just a very simple conversation about quality and value and so forth. Mindset, if you have a great mindset and have terrible strategies, that's going to be the beginning of a difficult career or a difficult season, difficult year. If you have a wonderful mindset, like, oh my gosh, you're just full of love and contribution, and you set aside your ego and your nefarious intentions and activities, and then you've even got the most transcendent strategy, like, oh my gosh, this feels good, it makes sense, I can see how it'd be productive, there's a track record, you just love the strategy, right? And then you sit home and do nothing and just contemplate your beautiful mindset and your beautiful strategy, okay? Also not the quickest avenue to results. So there's really like 3 aspects of this, right? There's a couple of ways, so I'm just gonna go through them real briefly. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get a little deep here. I love training and coaching, so I'm just gonna, bring it, as it were. But if I go a little fast, or if I'm confusing in any way, if you have any questions, You can go to contributionselling.com, get yourself right on my calendar. Happy to spend 30 minutes with you. I call it the Contribution Selling Challenge Call. So that's totally available to you. So mindset, strategy, action. Mindset, strategy, action. MSA. Interesting. I may do something with that. Anyway, first things first. So the mindset issues that many salespeople have, let's just pick two of them. Many people, especially people who are coaches and consultants, often have an undiagnosed belief system, like undiagnosed BS belief system, that it's better to give than receive. So just check in with yourself. Do you have a belief that it's better to give than receive? Just take a look and tell the truth with yourself, because this is low-hanging fruit. If you have a breakthrough here, it can often be the beginning of a real upward movement in a salesperson's career. So here's what there is to sort of consider. Giving and receiving are actually the same thing. So you have two people, one's giving, one's receiving. They're happening simultaneously. They're the same thing. They're different sides of the hand, if you will, okay? So you actually cannot be a world-class giver unless you are a world-class receiver. How do I know this? I've tried for many years and routinely left myself kind of exhausted, broke, embarrassed, questioning everything about myself. So it's really important to be a great receiver. So that's the one thing, right? The next thing is salespeople often act really weird in front of their prospective clients. Let me say what I mean. Either you've bought into the mainstay of sales training and you've adopted some manipulative type of sales approach, right? I've been through almost every national sort of namesake sales training you can imagine since the 80s. And I'm still highly versed and relevant in terms of keeping track of what's going on and what are the new movements in sales training and so forth, training and development. So either you've bitten into the, you bought the lie, right? Which is you have to be a manipulative, controlling, well, there's another word on the tip of my tongue, but I don't think it's appropriate to say it, right? But you have to be manipulative and controlling to be a successful salesperson. So that's the lie, right? And so either you bought into the lie and you're part of the problem, like you're literally pretending to care for your client and pretending to look after their best interest, meanwhile trying to close the deal at any and all costs, right? So you're likely either that person, or you're horrified by the whole idea and you're acting kind of weird trying not to be that person and like not asking for the close and not asking for the business and not standing for your value or the value of your product or service. So most salespeople find themselves in one of these two locations. And if you're thinking to yourself, you're different, then consider how you respond when there pressure's on. Your rent is due, you're behind quota, you spent 37 hours with this one client, you just want to get it done, whatever it is, right? So just notice if then perhaps you let go of your high morals and then you're manipulative, or then you're really weird trying not to be manipulative, okay? So everything's easy when everything's easy, and when things get a little more difficult, that's when the nefarious and the unexpected character traits tend to pop out of people, right? And it's pressure and stress, and it's actually part of the brain design. We won't get into that now, but when you experience a threat, you literally sort of become someone else, and it's very difficult to manage your integrity and your emotions and your thinking and so forth. But at any rate, so I've got some excellent training for both of those things: the mindset issue, the better to give than receive, and then the how are you, essentially how are you being in front of your clients? Are you being manipulative, trying to be really, cool and not be noticed? Or are you horrified at being manipulative and then you actually can't ask for anything and you're kind of constrained and acting kind of weird? So neither one of those is the answer. I've got some excellent training at contributionselling.com. It's free. I would love for you to check it out. So that's the mindset part, right? The strategy part really is a little more nuanced because it has a lot to do with the selling environment. But what I would do first is say you have to really distinguish the selling environment. And there's some key ways to do this. You know, educational sale versus commodity. If a company's buying a copier, they know they need a copier. They're just trying to pick the best vendor and the best brand. If, on the other hand, you're selling some exotic service they've never heard of, you have to educate them on why they need it and why that's a good decision and why it's good for their business and so forth. So that's an educational sale. So it's commodity versus educational, big capital upfront expense versus monthly payment, service versus equipment, in-home sales versus corporate sales, on and on and on and on. So the strategy is going to be highly relevant to two things: the selling environment, right? And then the person doing the selling. I don't know if you've noticed, but not everybody's the same, right? So it's a mistake, I think. I've been around a lot of sales teams and a lot of salespeople, and I've trained a lot of salespeople. And I think it's a big mistake to design the cookie cutter image for this company. You know, our salespeople are like this, and then you just stick to your guns and either try to hire those people or, you know, convert people and change them into something else. I think it's a huge mistake. I think you develop a fantastic opportunity that's conscious and supportive of salespeople, of high-performing salespeople performing highly, right? The world-class salespeople know what they're looking at, and they know when they're looking at a good situation. Create a good situation that will actually invite world-class salespeople, and then treat them like adults. Treat them like adults, and you know, find out what their superpower is, and find out what makes them go, and then, you know, support them in how they want to be supported, and support them in having your company perform. And then the action is, you know, you got to find out what motivates people. If you want to motivate people, find out what motivates people, and then give them that. All right, so if you have questions, contributionselling.com. I'd love to talk to you. Kirk McDowell. I hope this has been valuable. Thank you.